So the next archetype, which the Skellige deck seems to have developed, which is really powerful, is utilizing the leader card King Bran. Discard 2 cards from your hand to your graveyard, choose any card in your deck and place it into your hand. So this is a very Witcher 3 leader card, which were really powerful there. And discarding 2 cards is what this whole deck is about, this whole archetype. It's all about discarding as many cards as you can into your graveyard, buffing them while they're in your graveyard, and then medicing them all out later. So a whole discard card archetype. So you discard 2 cards to the graveyard here, so you are losing card advantage with this particular deck ability, leader card. So discarding 2 cards from your hand to your graveyard, you are going to lose card advantage from this particular play, this leader card, because you're getting rid of 2 cards, but you're only drawing 1. Now that 1 card can be anything. It can be bronze, silver, gold, units, special, whatever's in your deck. So you've got to make sure that 1 card is worth the 2 that you're throwing away. But it's not as simple as just discarding them, because you hopefully are putting things into the graveyard that are really going to benefit from it a lot. Things like the Clanter Siege skirmishers, which when they get played from the graveyard gain 4 strength. So these things, benefit from being in there as soon as you can. And there are other cards which benefit from being in the graveyard, and we'll go over those later. That's why this whole discarding deck archetype really works. So this card, is very good for this archetype. You lose 1 card advantage, but you can pick any card you want, and the opponent really can't do anything about it. So this is going to be a card that the opponent always has to fear, because it's going to really mess up your day. They're going to wait to use this card until it's amazingly worthwhile for them to do so. Oh, I need a Scorch, I'll go get one. Oh, I need Weather, I'll go get one. It's going to devastate you no matter what they pick out with this card. If you don't have 2 cards in your hand, I assume you can't use this leader card. So be careful about, using all your cards anyway. So the next card that go into this archetype is the Daman Pirate Captain. He saw a lot of changes. He's 1 strength. How the mighty have fallen. 1 strength bronze card on the ranged row. Whenever you discard a card, add 3 strength to this unit, and it's immune to impenetrable fog. So pretty much this card is immune, right, to weathers. Well, that's what it says. But I mean, you've got to think about that. This is a card that's going to get really high in strength, because you're going to be discarding a lot of cards. Okay, this guy would get an extra 6 strength just from King Bran. And yeah, he's immune to fog. So basically someone's going to have to scorch him. They're going to have to wound him. It's going to be difficult. There is another card that I believe can set the strength of everything to 1, but it doesn't involve weathers, and that one's going to be a really scary card to come up against. But I think it's faction specific, so don't worry about that. But yeah, a really, really powerful card. It's going to be the crux of your whole entire discarding archetype deck. So another card which really benefits from being discarded is the Queen's Guard. Okay, a 3 strength bronze card goes on the melee row, has some ties to Ceri's golden card, which we'll see next. Its ability: play all copies of this unit from the graveyard and add 1 strength to Ceri's wherever she is. So this is a card which you want in the graveyard. The only way it's going to be mustered is if you have it in the graveyard. So this is a prime target for anything that discards. So if you've got a couple of these in your hand, King Bran is excellent play, absolutely amazing play, because you want to discard the Queen's Guard, okay? And you get to also get the benefit of picking one thing, whatever it is, out. Probably Ceri's, because that would be useful if you didn't have her. But yeah, really good. And when they are in the graveyard, you have to medic one out in order to get them. But when you medic one out, you'll get 9 strength, because they'll all 3 will come out. And then you can do so on the next round as well. So really, really good. And every time some of these do come out, Ceri's, which is the next card, will get 1 strength. So Ceri's is an 8 strength golden card. It goes on the melee row as well. When sent to the graveyard, convert to silver. So that, her ability is basically just, she's immune when you first play her down. She's a golden. But when she goes into the graveyard, she now becomes medicable, which is, pretty impressive. I like the idea. So she's 8 strength, which is pretty low for a gold card. You do have to work to get her up. Okay. Now, if you bring out the Queen's Guard once and all 3 of them come out, she'll go up to 11 strength, which is interesting. If you manage to do it a second time, then she'll go up to 14 strength. And that's pretty much where it's going to be. We saw Geralt in a previous video that he was 12. so 14 might be above average now for a hero card. But 11 is pretty good. You do have to work a little bit, but I think it's not a massive amount of work because there's a little bit of RNG. You don't quite know what you're going to discard with some of these cards. But you do want something for King Bran to actually put into the graveyard. And, you know, there are other cards which benefit from discarding Queen's Guards. And there are other ways to discard cards. So it is a bit of work to get her up. But I think it's work that you're going to do anyway if you're building this discarding card deck. So I think she's probably an auto insert into this particular deck, unless you can find 4 other heroes which you feel are slightly better. You've got cards like this one. Now, I haven't said her name because she used to be called Sigfrida, but now she's called Segura Drifter. Segura Drifter. 1 strength silver card and goes on the siege row. So her ability is to choose a non-gold unit in your graveyard and play it. The basic medic ability. Whenever a unit is played from either graveyard, add 1 strength to this unit. So, you know, she's going to go up. I don't think she'll get massively high. You don't have an awful lot of medics. Obviously, she really benefits from the chaining of medics. So that is something you really want to kind of get into. And make sure you try and play her before you start medicing people out, so she gets buffs. If your opponent has a medic heavy deck, you know, a lot of field medics in Northern Realms, or if you're fighting another Skellige deck, then she's going to be pretty good. But yeah, she's probably a staple card. You want as many medics as you can get in Skellige, and she's going to be a very important one. I think she's probably an auto insert as well. Although I imagine it's going to be hard to get her up in strength. I think she'll probably reach about 6. She could probably reach about 8 if the opponent joins in. But just on your own, I think you'll probably get up to about 5 or 6, I would say. So it is worth noting, when you're chain medicing, that whole concept, Sig Drifter is a silver, and she can pull out other silvers as well as bronze. Whereas the priestesses are bronze and can only pull out bronze. So while Sig Drifter can pull out the priestesses and then you can chain, you have to end on a bronze in that case. Whereas if you start with a priestess, they can't pull out Sig Drifter. So if you use Sig Drifter to pull out a priestess, then you are going down the ramp and you can't pull out a silver as your ender. Whereas Sig Drifter could pull out a silver if that's what you want. So you have to weigh in whether it's worth chaining the medics, but then ending on a bronze, which is generally quite good. We've got some pretty good bronzes like the Skirmisher, which will get buffed, and, you know, a lot of cards will be viable bronzes for Skellige, but sometimes you might want to pull out silver, in which case you're going to have to use Sig Drifter without chain medicing. So combining Sig Drifter, to sound right, Priestesses of Freya and your Restoration card, they're all your type of medic, so you need as many of those as you can, because you're going to be putting a lot of things into the graveyard, so you'll have a massive choice. And then you've got cards like Drake here. He's seen quite a bit of a nerf. He used to have 8 strength, but now he only has 2. And he's a silver card as well, and goes on the siege row. His ability is add 2 strength to all non-gold units in your graveyard. So again, he's one of the round 3 very late plays, just before you start placing down Sig Drifter and the priestesses. So you discard as many things as you can in round 1, and then, you know, you start buffing them while they're in the graveyard, and then you start medicing them out and start getting mega buffs with her as well. So, you know, he's going to be a vital card for this discarding thing as well, because he's going to add +2 to everything. Now, I think there is a limit. Doesn't matter how many you put in there and how buffed they get while they're in your graveyard. You can only, you know, medic out a limited amount. So this guy might work in other decks as well, because I think most Skellige decks are going to run medics in some form. So he'll probably work in a lot of decks anyway. He's not necessarily specific to the discarding card. It just gives you a lot more choice, though. If everything goes in there and then you buff them all, they're all going to be pretty good, and you get a lot of choice what to medic out. So the next card we've got is the War Longship. Now this is a 3 strength bronze card, and it goes on the siege row. Whenever a unit on your side of the battlefield is destroyed, or you discard a unit card, remove 2 strength from a random non-gold unit on the opponent's side of the battlefield. So it is a random, you don't get to choose, which is not great, but when you start to incorporate just how effective this card could be, it actually starts to not matter so much. So it's worth 3 strength, but then after this is on the board, every card that you discard, which is the main reason, I can't think of wanting to destroy anything on your own side. Maybe the Berserker, so it activates and goes into its bear form, but I think it's a bit of a waste because it would do that anyway at the end of the round. So the main point is discarding a unit card, which are the things that you're going to be discarding. It will do 2 damage. So while this is on the board, it gets more and more effective the more discards you can do. So it is quite an important card to remove. Now, this is bronze, so if you've got 3 of them on the board and you discard 1 card, suddenly that's 6 damage, split between random cards. Now, we saw the King Bran, you discard 2 cards there, and you're probably going to make those unit cards as well. So suddenly, if you've got 3 of these on the board and you do King Bran, that's 12 damage you're doing to the opponent. Okay, we've actually got a card to come up which discards 3 cards. So if you can make all of those units, you're suddenly doing, what is that, 6 to 18 strength to the opponent. So the randomness doesn't matter as much because you're going to start destroying cards with 18 strength split between them. So this card is decent, providing you've got enough discards in the rest of your hand. Okay, it's really cool card. Now, obviously, the issue is you have to start placing it down, and it is really kind of not adding much strength to yourself. So it has no muster, so it's going to be hard to get out. And if you are putting these out, if you've got 3 of them in your hand, it's probably going to be that you're not going to get very high strength this particular round. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're really going to cripple the opponent. So the next card we've got is something along the lines of Svanrige, 4 strength silver card, and goes on the siege row. Its ability, draw 1 card, then discard 1 card from your hand. So it is a loyal card, it doesn't act like a spy, and the reason for that is you don't gain card advantage with this card. It's basically the last wish in unit form, but a little worse. It's like is it Milvat? No, Burner Brand, but a little worse, and that's why it's silver. So it's 4 strength, but you've got a lesser version of the last wish in its ability. So you draw 1 card and then you discard 1. Hopefully it's a unit, so the War Longship, if you've got them out, deals some damage to the opponent, deals some strength, some wounding. And obviously we've seen quite a few other benefits from discarding cards into the graveyard. And let's go on to the Clanon Crate Raider. Now this is a 6 strength bronze card and goes on the melee row. Basically, when this unit is discarded, it gets played instead. We saw this kind of ability ages ago, and I'm glad it's made a return. These guys are going to be really strong with this archetype, and these are definitely ones that you want to discard. If you get them in your hand, use all your powers like Svanrige here and King Bran to discard them, because then they get played automatically. Okay, so really, really good card. 6 strength is nice, and hopefully, providing you play your cards right, there's a little pun there, this card will get played automatically. So a really, really nice card. I don't think we'll see too many auto plays because I think it is a strong thing, but these ones are nice. You can have 3 of these and potentially 18 strength with all the cards you're discarding and redrawing and stuff. So really good. So the next card we've got is the Clan Daman Pirate. So this is not the pirate captain like we saw before, this is just the pirate, and I think it's actually stronger, at least in normal base strength. The other one had a pretty good ability. But it's 6 strength bronze card and goes on the ranged row. And its ability is to discard all copies of this unit from your deck to your graveyard, and it's immune to impenetrable fog. So this works in 2 of the archetypes, the 3rd one we haven't discussed yet, but you might be able to guess what it is. But discarding all copies of this unit from your deck to your graveyard means that you really only want 1 of these in your hand. You play it and then 2 more go into your graveyard. Yeah, so good for filling up your graveyard again, and you get buffs for that, don't you? So you can start buffing him up with the graveyard with Drake, and Sig Drifter can medic them out. So just a generally okay card for filling up your graveyard, and it's immune to impenetrable fog, which is really good if you choose to try and use some weather with this particular deck. Next we've got Ermion. He's a 7 strength golden card and goes on the siege row as well, and he draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards from your hand to your graveyard. So this card is what Burner Brand used to do. You've now put it onto Ermion, which is fine. Again, drawing cards and then discarding unit cards, War Longship, buffing them while they're in your graveyard. We've got another card to come which really benefits from that, but I'm leaving it to the end so we can see all the ways that you can discard before I show you just how powerful this last card can be. So, pretty good. I really like Burner Brand, and this is going to work really well. The next we've got Donna on Hindar, which is an 8 strength silver card and goes on the ranged row. This is the spy for Skellige. It seems like Every deck has about 1 spy, and this is the Skellige version, so it is disloyal. So you're giving the 8 strength to your opponent, which is not bad. It actually works quite well if you're planning on putting an Impenetrable Fog down, using these guys which are immune to it, and then placing him down so he's reduced to 1. You know, could work quite well. Draw 1 card and discard 1 card from your deck to your graveyard. So you draw 1 to your hand and you draw 1 to your graveyard. It is a random effect. Obviously, if you're using King Bran, you lose card advantage. So this guy is probably quite important to try and get some of that back if you decide you want to. So our next card is Burner Bran, and her ability has been changed because Ermion has pretty much taken it from her. Now, although I said that most decks only have 1 spy and Donna on Hundar was the one, you can shut my mouth because this is the second spy for Skellige, okay? 9 strength golden card goes on the range row and is disloyal because it is effectively another spy. Now, because she's golden, it is such a huge liability. 9 strength is quite a bit to give your opponent, and you've got no way of getting it off unless they're Northern Rounds and Dijkstra's removes it for some reason, but, you know. Her ability is to draw 4 cards, keep 1 in your hand, and discard the rest of your graveyard. So there is an element of randomness, just like with this spy, that you don't quite know what you're going to draw, because you don't put it's not the 4 that you get and you add them to your hand and then you get to choose what you want to discard. So it's not like this, draw 2 cards then discard 2 cards from your hand. It's you draw 4, you keep 1 in your hand, and the others that you didn't know what they were going to be have to be discarded. So you don't get an element of choice on what to discard apart from the fact of which one you keep. It's going to be the other 3 are discarded. So you could get like a hero that you really didn't want to discard. You could get a special card that you really didn't want to discard either. So maybe she's a late play, because then you can try and you know, mix your hand together, keep the heroes when you draw them and then discard 2 cards, keep the specials when you draw them and discard 2 units. So she's probably a late play card, so you can try and manipulate your deck a little bit so that anything that does come into your hand you probably wouldn't have got anyway if you hadn't played her, because you've ran out of every other type of discard available to you. But yeah, so she's again a great way to fill up your graveyard with units and stuff which could potentially get buffed. And let's go on to the big cheese of golden cards, which is really going to work well with all of the ways that this discard archetype discards cards. So this card is Madman Lugos. He's such a good card now. He's a 4 strength golden card for melee row. Add 1 strength to this unit for each non-gold unit in your graveyard. So it only counts non-gold unit cards. Now, that's not necessarily bad because we've got things like Ceres, who is a golden card, but gets changed to silver when she goes into the graveyard. And there's a lot of discarding cards where you want to discard things like Clanon Crate Raiders, which get played automatically. You know, we're going to be discarding a lot of good cards, so he's really going to have a good time with this. Now, in the Kill the Server stress test, he was 2 strength and had the same ability. And during the Kill the Server stress test, he was reasonable. Okay, he was okay. And the reason for that was he started on 2 strength and he had to work damn hard to get up to 12 or 15 strength. Okay, which is okay. I don't mind working damn hard, but Geralt was a 15 strength golden card and he didn't have to work a day in his life. Okay, so Geralt was 15, didn't have to work for it. Madman Lugos started at 2 and could get up to maybe 15, but you had to work damn hard. Whereas now he's got two buffs. Okay. First one is he used to be 2 and now he's 4, so he starts a little further up the tent pole, so to speak. So it's easier to get him at high numbers. And during the Kill the Server stress test, I don't think we had any way, apart from Burner Bran, which used to do draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Apart from her, we had no way of discarding cards. But now we've got so many ways of discarding cards. He's going to fly up the ranks. He's seriously going to get really, really high if you manage to play this out correctly. I could see him maybe at 18, 20 strength or something like that. He's seriously going to be a lot of strength. And he's golden, so he's relatively untouchable. There are ways to wound golden cards. The Northern Realms Radovid card will do 10 damage, but it's still, you know, that's a strong 10 damage that he's going to take on the face and still come at you with a nice, healthy 10 strength if you manage to get him up that high. So an amazing card. I got the feeling he's going to see a nerf. He's going to have to go down back to 2 in my opinion, but hopefully during the closed beta we can have some fun with this guy because it's going to be really, really good. So our third and final Skellige archetype is a more weathery archetype, and this kind of uses the Herald the Cripple leader card. Remove 4 strength from all units on your opponent's side of the battlefield whose strength is below the original value. So it's going to be massively powerful with weather cards, and then pop your leader card and suddenly they're all destroyed. Okay, things like Ragnarok are going to be really, really powerful because then you weather the entire side of the board. Try and bait out that clear weather or 2 before you do that, of course, because you don't want to waste a Ragnarok to 1 clear weather. That's gold to bronze then. But yeah, so he's seriously going to be good. Obviously, you want to combine this particular leader card with things like Zoltan Animal Tamer, because then you can -2 using the Field Marshal, and that's pretty good. Things like Blue Boy Lugos, who summons the whale. The whale will flutter around 3 rows randomly, minusing 1 off everything. That would be really good for this particular deck as well. So really, really nice weather archetype. Now you might be able to mix in some of the discarding thing as well. You know, there could be some crossover with these things. We're going to see some cards which do have a bit of crossover with the weather archetype and the discarding archetype. The first one is the Clan Daman Pirate Captain we went over. Whenever you discard a card, add 3 strength to this unit. So there's a bit of discard crossover there, but it is immune to fog. So if you play a fog, this is a card that you might want to take in a weather archetype, because you know you need to be able to discard cards as well. But this guy is immune to fog, so that's a nice benefit. We've also got Holger Blackhand. I remember talking about him before. Choose 3 non-gold units on the battlefield and remove 1 strength from them, and is also immune to fog. So this guy is immune to fog again, which is very good for the weather archetype, and he's aggressive that you can remove strength from the opponent. Obviously, if you mix it over with the self-debuffing unit deck, which would work in fog, you know, if you've got some cards in fog, it counts as being debuffed. You don't want to debuff it completely, but you know, this card would work in a weather archetype deck. We've also got the Clan Daman Pirate, which is discard all copies of this unit from your deck to your graveyard, which is, you know, good for medicing out and stuff, and is also immune to fog. So we're looking at a very fog heavy game here, but we do have other cards which are immune to weathers as well. We've got the Light Longship, a very base card, 7 strength bronze, goes on the siege row, and the only ability it has is that it is immune to Torrential Rain. So you know, that's decent if you're planning on trying to put down tons and tons of weather effects. You've got things like Skellige Storm now, remember, and White Frost, and was it Marigold's Hailstorm, Ragnarok, Aeromancy. We've got a lot of choice in terms of weather effects, and all of these cards are immune, but you need to kind of figure out a nice mix of whatever their secondary ability was. So you had things like, you know, get buffed when discarded, so you'd have to put some discards in. Otherwise, that's going to be a useless card. This one is just going to be a staple, 7 strength, immune to Torrential Rain. And then you pop this guy, and all the enemy which are reduced to 1 via the weather will get destroyed, which is really nice. So that is generally the gist of that archetype. That one was quite a short one. Doesn't seem to have many immune things, so you will have to mix this archetype with other things. But I'm sure you could, like, you know, round 1, weather them down, round 2 and 3, start medicing and buffing and stuff. Now there are some other cards we're going to have to go over that have changed a little bit. So the first one is Clan Heimye Skald, 4 strength bronze card, is agile as well. Add 2 strength to all other non-gold units on the row. So the reason I'm putting this in, because I think he used to be 3 strength, didn't he? So they buffed his strength a little bit to compensate, I think, for the comparisons to the Hawker Healer, which buffed by 3. So the other card is Alderic, which is a 5 strength silver card, goes on the melee row. It is a disloyal card, so this is the 3rd spy for Skellige. I know I said most factions only have 1, and that has been sort of the case, but it seems like Skellige has 3 at the moment. So you can actually get some pretty good card advantage, even though you're using King Bran, which loses you 1, which is really nice. So he actually got a bit of a buff, actually, because he was 7 strength, and now he's gone down to 5, and for a spy, this is pretty good. Draw 1 random card from your opponent's graveyard to your hand. So it works the same way, but it's just a random card, but this can be manipulated. Obviously, if you scorch something really big in round 1, you can pull it out instantly and guarantee that it's going to be that. But it can pull out bronze, silver, gold, it can pull out specials or units. So it is, you know, quite difficult to anticipate what you're going to get. I got like a Biting Frost once, which is like absolutely terrible. But anything you do pull out, which is going to be bad, it's probably just going to be discard bait, really. So hopefully it's a unit, so war longships and stuff would get buffed. But yeah, if you pull something bad, you just use that as a discard bait, or you get something good and you play it. So yeah, reasonably good card there. And the penultimate card we've got is Andaman, which is 10 strength silver card on the melee row and has no ability. So it's effectively another troll errant or trollolo. Yeah, it's pretty much just one of those 10 strength non-ability cards. They don't really have many of those Skellige, so I don't think if the alchemist still exists, it's a viable tactic. I'm not sure what kind of role this plays. I haven't really looked over all the cards enough to see if this will protect many of them. It seems like it would, but you might have to put a bit of effort in. I really like the shadow there. That's Geralt's shadow, if you looked on that, which is really, really cool. But yeah, so just a silver card of 10 strength. Now, normally that's pretty good in some decks, I would think. I take Trollolo sometimes, and I take the Troll Errant. But I don't know if I'd take this one, just because we're going for a different style, you know? We're going for the weathers, or we're going for the discards, or we're going for, you know, there's not really much point to have this apart from just to protect from Scorch. And Scorch isn't as prevalent as it used to be. The last card is Hilmar, which is 10 strength golden card and goes on the melee row. Create and play the Lord of Undvik unit on the opponent's side of the battlefield. So you play a Lord of Undvik disloyal card. I think it might be like 10 strength or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I think we know some details about it. It's a pretty high strength card, but if you destroy it, then Hilmar gets another 10. So basically he goes up to a 20 strength card, but you have to destroy this card that you're giving the opponent, and it can be hard to destroy because it's got a reasonable amount of strength. So yeah, there you go. I guess it is a lot more important to see the Lord of Undvik before we can really truly see how this card is going to play. But yeah, if Lord of Undvik is gold, it's going to be crazy. I don't see how you're supposed to do it. So it most likely is a silver card, and then, you know, if the opponent decoys that silver card, it might count as being destroyed. So there's a couple of things you could do. I'm not sure. I mean, Scorch is the obvious thing, because this doesn't, obviously this bypasses Scorch because it's a golden card. But I suppose you could do Alzor's Thunder. Weather might work because it's probably not going to be a golden card, otherwise it's going to be immensely hard to destroy. I don't know if Skellige has a way of dealing damage to golden cards. I don't remember seeing one, because only golden cards can wound other golden cards. So yeah, that's what he does. So thanks for watching, everyone. This has been the Skellige faction cards for the closed beta, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. I mean, it was mega fun. There was a lot of good synergy here. Everything sort of went together, connected, and I'm most excited about this deck so far. We've still got the monsters in the Northern Realms to come. I've got an exciting one for Northern Realms that I want to try out, and I want to see if it kind of works a little bit. But yeah, so really like this one. Now, the fact that they've got clear-cut archetypes might be a disadvantage. If you start playing cards, your opponent might be able to analyze and easily guess what kind of deck you've got, you know, basically just based on your leader card. You know, it's so obvious. And then they might be able to predict your cards a lot easier. So there might be a disadvantage to such clear-cut archetypes. And, well, you know, we'll have to see. Wait to close beta for that. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the not-too-distant future for Monsters and Northern Realms. And then, finally, you know, a broader review of the whole thing and the general impressions that the whole thing gave me afterwards. Thanks for watching, guys.